Hello, welcome to Ephemera Files with Tommy, and we are getting started on our July journal from a simple kit that I am working along with a challenge that was posted by DearJulieJulie. I have already shared the list of the components that we are supposed to have in our kit, and today I am going to do the very first step, I think. Maybe it's not the first step, because sometimes I come up with an entire theme, know exactly what I want to do. I really don't know where I'm going with this one this time for sure. So I do know that I need to determine first what size I want my journal to be. And since I have chosen to use this deconstructed bag from my friend Charlotte, I know that that is going to do a little bit toward determining the size of my my book, my journal. So let's move all of this out of the way. And let's see what is going to work best for making our journal cover. I do want this to be the cover. I do know that. And I have all of these parts. These two have the magnets in them that I will probably remove. And then we have this and this. The bag was put together like this, with the bag with the bottom like so. And then these were the sides over here. And then these were the handles that were attached. So I have all of these parts. Not all of them will be used, but most of it will be. Looking at these two parts, this one has this extra little goodie right here. This has kind of a, it got stuck to another piece of paper, so it's got a boo-boo here. So this one will probably be my front cover. Since the flowers are directional, I know that that will be at the top. I also know that I need to straighten the edges, because when I deconstructed, I just used a pair of scissors because this is pretty hefty stuff. It's about 3 layers thick of papers, and I don't know if I'll be able to take that apart. I don't know if I want to, because right now it's pretty sturdy for a book cover. So I know that I don't want it to be any taller than this. I'm not sure I want to go this wide, but that would make a book that would be 8 inches by 12 inches. And since I have a lot of 12 by 12 papers in that pad, plus the long ledger papers, plus some of the drawing papers and all of that sort of thing, since those are longer, I think that I am just going to trim this down so it is square and use this as my dimension. So, having determined that, I also think that I want to use one of these. I may use both of them just for thickness to reinforce. We'll see what happens with that. But I need to take these magnets out because they're kind of messing with me. And it's just these little, oh goodness, little round magnets, but they are super strong. If I can, there we go. See, it's just like that. And then there is another one in this one. Now watch. They're pretty strong. They just jump right together. Is there another magnet? There are more magnets in there. So, because it's still jumping to each other, where is the other? Where's that other magnet? I thought that they were jumping to each other. Is that a magnet? Way down in there? Yes, it is. Oh, goodness. And we're just going to try to get that out without destroying the papers. I don't know how well that's going to work. There's that one. Now let's just feel and see if there's, yep, there's another one right there. I'm not sure which layer it's between. There we go. There it is. Right there. My goodness, Charlotte. You wanted to make sure that they stayed in. Good for you. Oh, goodness. Did you see that? Those are strong little magnets. Now we'll press that glue back down so that it's nice and firm. And we'll, excuse me, my allergies are acting up, and so I have the sniffles. And I think it irritates me more than it irritates anybody else. But still, I apologize for that. Let's see. That magnet is way down in there as well. There we go. I know that this is a lot of fun, watching me dig for magnets. But since it's part of the process, I want to make sure that you see all of it. Oh, goodness gracious. There we go. And I'm kind of afraid. There we go. I'll just let them connect themselves. They're making me a little jumpy. And there's one more there. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Now, which layer is it between? That one. That one. I'm trying to stay on screen, but I'm struggling with this. Okay, we'll be using this one to do other parts of the journal. Or I could just glue it back together. It really didn't come apart that badly. I've lost where it is. There it is. Oh my goodness. There we go. So we know from this that if I choose to make a closure with magnets, which I may very well do since I just happen to have 6 of them, we know that they are going to stick. They are going to stick the book closed very well. Look at that. They all just jump together. All right. So, how badly? This one's pretty destroyed, so that's going to go into my box or my basket of items I am using for this journal. This one still looks pretty good. Now, my journal is going to be 5 signatures. And I'm trying to check the thickness on this. I think in order to make it, I'm kind of afraid to tear this to wiggle it too much because I don't want to just destroy it like I did the other. Of course, if I do, I'll just make a spine out of something else. That's the way junk journals are. It's kind of hard to ruin them. That is some super strong glue that she used too. I will have to ask her what kind of glue that is. All right. I think that that will work very well. I am going to remove this part. I'm just going to have this sheet of paper, and then I will back it with some cardstock to strengthen the spine, along with some muslin. I think that I'm allowed to use things like that since I just happen to have them within reach on my desk. I know that the purpose of this challenge was to put together a mini kit that you could take with you to travel, that doesn't have to be expensive, that can be made all out of things that you happen to have on hand. And someday I will do a craft room tour, and you will see just how big a problem I have with collecting craft supplies. I think I collect them way more frequently than I use them. Use a lot of them. They don't go to waste. But I don't know. I have this thing. I shared this video on my Facebook page, and it's this. The video is from Linda BYUS, I believe. I will link her down below, and it is hilarious because she is talking about her scrapbooking and how it became a monster when she did. My apologies, I have not yet figured out how to handle an incoming phone call when I'm making a video. So I will get that straightened up. I was talking about a lady that I saw that had made a video that was shared on Facebook, and I thought it was hilarious because it very well describes kind of the same thing I went through. And like I said, I will link her below. Her name is Linda, I think it's Linda BYUS, but I will make sure. Anyway, hilarious. I just highly suggest you watch that. Okay, so we have determined that we are going to make our book 8 by 12. I'm going to do 5 signatures. I usually use 3, but I read somewhere that if you use more signatures with the fewer papers, the book lies flatter when you open it, and you don't get the alligator mouth so badly. So we're going to do 5 signatures in here. This, minus all this gobbledygook here that I will cut off, measures 3 inches. So I'll have one at 2.5, one at 1, 1.5. Did I say that right? No, one at 1.5, 1, 1/2, 2, and 2.5. I believe that will be fairly evenly spaced, and will give us a good distribution of the pages, so that we don't have the alligator mouth and we don't have a whole bunch of messiness going on. So I'm going to square this up somehow. I think that my cutting board should be able to handle that thickness. If it doesn't, then I will simply do a little more deconstructing. So I have had this paper cutter for a long time. It's Fiskars. I see so many people that have the little ones, and I actually have a smaller one under here from We Are Memory Keepers. But for some reason, right in this area, and it may just be the way that I use it, it drags and cuts holes. And just happen to have some paper right there that is doing the same thing. So we're going to try to square this up. Let's see if we can square it up along the same line as the little ribbon there. Will that work? Looks like it might. Fingers crossed. Well, I can't cross my fingers while I'm doing this, but you know what I mean. Now we have the top edge square. We can square off these edges. Ooh, that's just at 12. So the book may end up being more like 11.5 by the time I get everything squared, which should be fine. I'm just barely going to take the littlest bit off of the edges just to get them squared. I'm going to pass several times over that just to make sure I get through all the thickness. And I did, yay. And then the same thing here. We measured 8. It looks like it'll still be 8 when I get this trimmed up, if I hold it down hard enough for the trimmer to get through. See, that was a lot of layers right there, and it just went right through it. And my other one just won't do that. It's good for single sheets. I'm not going to throw it away. It's not that I hate it. There are just certain jobs that it can't handle, and that's why I have this one. So let's get this back of the journal trimmed up as well. Let's see, the best way I can think of to get it straight is to line this paper up on a line, just like that. I am not throwing these away. I am putting them into my little scrap basket over here. I have lots and lots of lovely little scraps here, and I can reach in here anytime I just need a little something. Just a little something. All right, now this time we are going to measure, because I want the front to be the same as the back. And so that measured right at 11.5. So we're going to come here and measure right at 11.5. Now this line, this one isn't square yet, so I'm going to have to really hold this down to keep it at 11.5 when I cut this. We will square up the top and bottom here in just a second. All right, and then we measured this final cut at 8. So, ooh, that's gonna be close. Okay. May have to make the cover just a little bit smaller in order to have a good straight edge. So let's get these edges cut off and see what happens, and then we'll make the front match the back. Okay, so in order to get that straight, I'm gonna have to come to 7 3/4 instead of 8, which I think will be fine. That's 1/4 of an inch smaller. That's not a deal breaker for me. So we will trim this one at 7 3/4 as well. And then what we'll want to do is make a note of what our final dimensions actually are, so that when we go to cut our other papers, we can make sure that they are all in the same, within the same area. So this is our July journal from a simple kit with Dear Julie Julie. And our dimensions were 11.5 by 7 3/4 is what it ended up being. Yes. And I'm going to put a note on here that I am making 5 signatures, just so I don't forget. And I'll put that right there so it doesn't get lost. So on this, it's very, very sticky, and I don't want to put it through here because that sticky will transfer. Not fun. But I'm also wanting to make sure that it is straight. So I think what I'm going to do is get a scrap piece of paper, which I know I have. I was going to make a costume. I had this in there for the costume to have as a guide. I'm going to stick this paper on here as flat as I can. Get my brayer out. This would be one of my granddaughter's favorite tools to use. She is 5. She loves to make crafts and make art with me. And she calls it the roller thingy. Very descriptive. Seriously considering putting one in her Christmas stocking. I think that she would love it, and everybody else would find it was hilarious. So it's a win-win all the way around. Now that it's not sticky, we can put it through the trimmer. Let's see. I think that in order to get all of this mess up, all of that mess off of there, that'll be covered right there at the corner, so I'm not worried about that. Cut right here. And now I don't have the stickiness. That's kind of funny right there. And we'll turn it over. It stuck a little bit, but not like it would have. And I can clean that up fairly easily. Let's see, we said 3 inches, and that should be enough to straighten that edge. And we said 11.5. So this is currently 12. So I'm going to take 1/4 of an inch off of each end. I know that this side is straight and this side is straight because we just did the trimming. So we're going to go 11 3/4 right there. And then 11.5. Whoops, no, that's wrong. That's the length. I need 7 3/4. So now I need to find the center, and I already cut that off. Let's see. Time for math. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cheat just a little bit because I can, because it's my book. All right, there's the center. And if it's 7 3/4, half of 7 3/4 is going to be 3 and, let's see, 3.5 and 3.5 is 7. So 3 1/4 and 3 1/4 is 7.5. So I think it's 7. I think it's 3 5/8. I think that's 3 5/8. Is that correct? That's 5/8 right there. Okay. Cross our fingers. If not, I do have that other piece that I can work with. 7 3/4. Ah, yes, math was off. That's okay. It's okay. Because it will be going this way. So it's not going to matter if it's a little bit longer on one end than the other. It's probably going to be mostly covered with lace anyway. Don't stress about a junk journal. It's going to be beautiful anyway. It's a junk journal. Mistakes can become beautiful things. Okay, so this cover will go together just like this. And I will have the 5 signatures right here. Now to make the cover on the inside, this is where it can get tricky and where I can run out of room on my table if I'm not watching it. You will want to make sure that this is reinforced. So you'll want some cardstock or something a little bit more heavy duty to put on there. And I have, oh goodness, where did I put it? I have the back, there we go. I have this cardstock right here, and I'm going to cut probably 2 thicknesses of it to back on here. So we're going to get our cutter out again, our cutting tool, our paper cutter. I feel like I'm rambling, but sometimes it helps if I talk out loud, even if it's to no one else in the room. And we said 7 3/4. And I'm just going to cut this whole thing 7 3/4. And our spine ended up being 3 inches. So I'm going to cut 2 of these at 3 inches. After I get this tape off. And it doesn't matter if I tear the paper off the back of it. It's going to be covered up anyway. So I need 3 inches. And 3 inches. And we can save this. And we can save this. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it up here in my little strip jar. That's the front. This is the back. This is the spine. I'm going to glue 1 layer directly to the spine, moving these out of the way so that I don't mess them up. I use tacky glue. I do not just squirt it on. Oh goodness, I do string it everywhere apparently. I make swirls, which lots of people do. I don't make swirls if I am just doing paper to paper because it makes bumps. But I also like to make sure that I am adhered well. So I take one of these little gift cards and I use it to make it an even layer. To spread it out evenly, get it all the way to the edges, all the way to the corners. A thin layer works very well, and then you'll probably want to go back around and make sure that you've got the edges, because you'll be able to see in the light just where you still need glue. You don't need to be absolutely on the edges for this one because there's going to be more glue applied. This is 3-in-1. It's basically the same thing as Fabrifix. It costs a little less. I don't know why. I think it works just as well, although I use both of them interchangeably because sometimes I get a really good coupon. All right, set that to the side. We'll line this up. This lining up is hard to do without getting my head in the shot, and nobody wants a headshot, not of me. I don't know. Maybe somebody might. I'm not going to speak for everyone. I'll get my brayer out again so that I've got really good contact there. And there's our spine, the first step. The next thing that we are going to do is line this up. I like to use these little orange sticks. They're meant for manicures, like pushing back your cuticles and stuff like that. I use them for all kinds of art projects because they are just super handy dandy. I use them for spacers because if you get your spine and your covers too tightly together, it's not going to close very well. And you want it to close because you're probably going to add enough stuff that you might have an issue closing it anyway. So I use those. They seem to be the perfect size. And then I use tape to hold it in place. And now we're going to tape it together. And I have this tape. I believe it is just reinforced packing tape. It has like the strings running through it. And it works really well. You could probably use any kind of tape as long as it would hold it together. I don't know that I would use washi, but I mean, even masking tape would probably work. Just don't count on it to hold your final product together, okay? I'm going to smooth that down as much as we can. That stick's going to come out, don't worry about that. And then do that again on this side, making sure that you're lined up. This is my way of doing the book binding. Obviously, everybody has their own way. I encourage you to find a way that works best for you. Whoops. There's those magnets. There we go. Put them in a bowl. Maybe that'll help. I like these little scissors. They're Fiskars Titanium Non-Stick. Especially when you're cutting tape. That is nice. Alright, and we are going to put this down. Smooth it down. We're going to trim off those edges, so don't worry about them just now. I don't like that, so I'm just going to take that off. I don't really know what happened with it. I think maybe the tape started to split in an odd place. So, there's that. Okay, so now we're going to turn it over. We're going to pull those sticks out. They will come out. You just have to work at it because that tape is strong. It is strong. And there we go. We've got really good spacing right there. I have this little tool. It's an EK Success powder tool. I got it as like, I think it was like half price because I had ordered something, and so I thought, well, I'll try it. Before this, I had a little jar of cornstarch and a paintbrush, and it worked just as well. So you don't have to get the fancy things. If you want to, go for it. I kind of like that this is self-contained, whereas the brush and the cornstarch or the baby powder wouldn't be. And it's just built in. This travels much better than a bowl of cornstarch or baby powder, because they will stop you in the airport when they check your luggage because it's a powder. I was pulled to the side coming back from New Orleans because in one of my carry-ons I had 2 cans of the chicory coffee that a friend had requested and 2 boxes of beignet mix. Come to find out, I could have bought them at my local grocery store. Anyway, they pulled me to the side and made me open my bag, and I thought, oh, it's because of the cans. No, it was because of the boxes of powder. So be careful what you pack. Be aware. You don't want to cause issues for yourself or for others. And I will link to the little EK Success powder tool where you can get that. Like I said, it's very good for travel, especially on an airplane. I also have a bracelet that I got from Trades of Hope, and apparently it looks like C4. I didn't know what C4 looked like. I also got pulled aside for that, and they wanted to check out my bracelet. And I don't think it was because it was beautiful, although it is. I think it was because of that. I asked them about it. So, traveling with Tommy can be an adventure. All right, so now we have that. The next step, I want to cover this. It's nice and strong and sturdy, but it's not pretty at all. So that will be the next step. And we will look at covering our July journal from a simple kit in my next video. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, be kind always.